Hello and welcome to part 3 of the BMC 1.8 litre diesel engine rebuild. Now moving on from part 2 then, okay, the StarChem sin strip that we featured in part 2 has worked overnight. There was quite a lot of rain last night, and what that's done is that's actually removed the majority of the StarChem sin strip, and we're now predominantly back down to a cast iron block, but you can see how quickly the surface rust has appeared. So what we're going to do then is move on to the electrolysis bath. Okay, there's plenty of videos on YouTube of other people doing engine blocks in their back gardens with electrolysis, but I'm just going to go over exactly how I set up my electrolysis bath and show you the effects that it can have on an old block. Okay, look at my setup then. Got a standard 12 volt 24 volt battery charger running off the 240 volt mains, with the positive connection leading on to the cathode, okay, the sacrificial metal. What I've done then is I've daisy chained some copper wire around the whole of my tub, added a jumper cable from the extremities, so from the far corners, just to get the voltage spread evenly around, so that the rust and the grime is being attracted in all 4 directions. And all I've simply done is used JCB track links, track pins as my sacrificial cathodes, so what the positive will be connected to and what the electricity will be attracted to. Okay, in the base then, just use a piece of laminate, a piece of flooring, just to raise the engine off the bed, just to make sure there's a bit of circulation underneath. And then once I place the engine in, I'll attach the negative, okay, which is the anode, onto the engine itself, okay, onto one of the studs that we saw on the top in the previous videos. The engine is now placed into the tub, okay, with the positive connected to our cathodes, and the negative now connected to one of the studs acting as our anode. So the grime is going to be attracted to the positive, okay, and those are going to become the pieces of metal that we don't want to keep, and then hopefully all the grime and grot's going to be taken off of the engine block, okay, and it should be coming up looking relatively new once it's had another pressure wash. What I'll now progress to do is fill it up with water, okay, just so it's just covering the negative terminal you can see there, and then we're going to add our sodium carbonate crystals, okay, our laundry soda, okay, which is going to put the conductivity into the water. So that's everything set up now. The tank is filled up, okay, just covering the engine by about a centimetre over the top, and I've added approximately 1 kilo of the soda crystals, okay, the sodium carbonate. What I'll do is when this gets going, I'll gauge how the water's moving with the chemical reaction, and if needs be I'll add a bit more. So we've let the water steady down now, okay, the water's completely still. All that's left to do now is switch the power on, and hopefully we should see the chemical reaction taking place. So there we go, power's now on, and straight away all 4 of the sacrificial pieces of metal are now bubbling away, and you can see the foam and grot being released and attracted to those pieces of metals, and obviously the bubbling. Okay, I'll just mention it now that these byproduct bubbles are hydrogen, hence why I'm doing this outside, because obviously hydrogen is an explosive gas, so please do not do this inside at any point. Okay, we'll come back in about an hour and just have a look at how the surface foam and grime is building up, and then we'll leave it probably for the first 24 hours and then just do another review. So we're now approximately 6 hours in. As you can see, the water's settled down slightly. There's not so many hydrogen bubbles being released, still a few popping up occasionally, a decent amount of scum on the surface. And I've just had a look at one of the cathodes, and there's a decent amount of rust on that one. So what we'll do is we'll leave it stewing overnight, approximately another 12 hours, and then we'll take it out. We'll give it a decent jet wash, have a look, remove some of the scum off the block, and then probably put it in for a second soak with some fresh water. So we're now approximately 24 hours into the electrolysis bath. As you can see, the water's settled right down, not many hydrogen bubbles being released, and the water's still right down. Really good amount of rusty, dirty, oily, grimy foam on the surface of the water now, and the voltage has dropped right off on the battery charger now. So what we're going to do is disconnect the power, remove the clamps, and bring the block out, and then have a look at the block itself, and then go through the process of washing off the block and determining whether it needs to go in for a second run. So that's the block removed from the electrolysis bath now. As you can see, all the surface rust has disappeared off the top face. Again, it's being replaced in some cases by the black residue, which is common after conducting electrolysis. Not quite sure about what the chemical sort of formula of the black stuff is, but the majority of that should come off when it undergoes its pressure wash. We'll just move around to a couple of sides of the block. Okay, the block is literally showing up as cast iron block now, okay, just with the black residue on, and it's lifted most of the grime and paint off. What I want to pay particular attention to then, okay, is it's even removed the majority of the gasket material as it was undergoing the procedure, and then just spinning you around to the other side. Okay, the main concern was the amount of rust inside the water jacket, so the internals. And if I just put my finger inside there and just rub over, it's warm to the touch, but the majority of that rust is now coming off. So a decent jet wash, and then we'll decide whether it needs to go back in for a second run. So again, I wasn't going to bore you with a video or a time lapse of me using the pressure washer, but I've been using this high powered washer. Gave it a blast, okay, and I'm really happy at how the block has turned out. So if we just look at the lift pump side, it's down to a nice silvery cast iron now. A little bit of paint residue where I didn't put the sin strip just inside, but that can be removed at a later date. But overall, fantastic. Okay, nice and clean down, all the gasket material removed, not a spot of the green Mohawk paint left, all the threads, all the surface rust now disappeared. And then a particular attention then, we're just going to go into the water jacket itself, okay, and there is literally no rust there left whatsoever. Okay, the dirty rust water came flooding out, so no chance of any rusty water being passed through either a new radiator if you're using it on a vehicle application or anything like that. So what we do now is we're just going to dry it off, give it a light coat with WD-40 just to stop any of the surface rust reappearing. Okay, but that'll be removed prior to painting the block. Just going to dip in here now into the cylinders, into the bores. Okay, and it might be a bit hard to see, but I've run my finger around inside there and there's no scoring or pitting or anything, so those will be polished up, ready for the application of the new pistons. Okay, that kind of concludes preparing the block. Part 4 then we'll go on to fitting it out with a few of the ancillary items, and then painting the block ready for reassembly. Thanks for watching.